Good morning. Welcome to the morning market briefing. It is August 30th, 2002. It is a Tuesday, and it's a pretty light news day, so I decided we were going to invite one of our new interns in. We've got Sagaar here. He is well, I guess we say third year now. We don't say junior anymore at Georgia Tech. So welcome to the show, Sagaar.
Great to be here.
Second day of work, so it's going to be interesting. So we'll get through the news, and then we're going to do a little intern interview, and I'm just going to do that off the cuff, so it should be an interesting show. I hope you guys all enjoy it. So the first big coming out of the EU this morning. So we had German CPI come out, and it actually came in a little bit cooler than expected. So the expectation for CPI in the European Union was 10.7. Previous print was 10.8, and they came in at 10.4. So we're seeing a little bit of a drop in terms of, same kind of story we had here in the US, where energy prices coming down just a little bit in the EU, not a ton. I mean, we obviously are still extremely elevated there, 10.4%. But notable, we are seeing, just like in the US, core CPI is ticking up. So as energy prices coming down, we're starting to see more widespread, more sticky inflation there. And so we're definitely on the lookout for the ECB to continue with their quantitative tightening as well. Next week we have the ECB meeting. If you're looking at futures right now, even after this report, we're looking at about a 52% chance that we're going to see a 75 basis point rate hike from the ECB, which is really pretty elevated. It was a big surprise. They were supposed to come out and do a quarter point hike last time, and they surprised with 50 basis points. And so in terms of the way they move, 75 basis point hike would be extremely aggressive. But I mean, given the fact that they're still, double digit inflation, we're seeing a lot of price hikes over there. I wouldn't say that it's outside of the realm of possibilities for them to continue to be aggressive. ECB chief economist Philip Lane said that they should raise interest rates step by step so that households and business can adjust. It says it doesn't make sense for the ECB to go as high as 75 basis points. I would tend to agree, given that their economy is significantly in worse shape than ours, and they've got the issues with Ukraine, which we're going to touch on here in a second, in terms of their gas prices. But it is notable that, while there was that big run up in the market over the last month or so, everyone was sort of feeling like, we've tamed inflation. It's come down a little bit. The Fed's going to be a little bit more dovish. And then we got that hawkish, speech on Friday at Jackson Hole with no signs of a pivot, no signs of any changes in monetary policy. I think that this is going to be the way of the world for the time being. And we need to be, as we've said many times, leaning towards the probabilistic outcome where we've got more likelihood of hawkishness in the market, more likelihood of pressure on interest rates. And I think that plays out based on what we've seen this morning in terms of inflation in Europe, as well as the ECB meeting coming forward and futures as they relate. The second piece, also related to Europe, is that there's an article this morning in the Financial Times saying that the EU is looking to try and break the link between gas and electricity prices. So natural gas is the big source of electric power over there. And it's just spiraling out of control. And so Ursula von der Leyen, who is the head of the EU Commission, came out and said, currently gas dominates the price of the electricity market with these exorbitant prices, and we have to decouple it. We'll have to ensure renewable energies are generated at a lower cost, that those costs are transferred to consumers, and windfall profits are used to help vulnerable households. But we need an emergency instrument, which would be triggered very quickly, in weeks perhaps, in order to rein them in. So what they're proposing is kind of interesting, and I think it might have a lot of unintended consequences, particularly as it relates to inflation. So what they're trying to do is institute a price cap on natural gas as long as that gas is being used for electric power. But we all know that natural gas is an input for many things, including semiconductors, fertilizers, chemicals, gases, basically as a raw input for a number of things. But I think the big one is going to be things like fertilizer. So they're not going to cap the price if you're using it to make fertilizer. And this is a fun trivia question, but the guy who created the ability to make fertilizer out of natural gas was a guy named Fritz Haber. He was a German scientist. And basically we couldn't sustain the population of the earth if it wasn't for Fritz Haber. But unfortunately, he also goes down in history as the creator of Zyklon B, which was the gas used in the Holocaust. So real mixed bag with that guy. So he's responsible for arguably billions of lives that are able to exist due to the boom in food production and natural fertilizers. But he's also not so nice, as they say. But I think, the real externality here is that if you start limiting the price of gas going into electricity, that's going to bring electricity prices down, which is great for the average consumer. But if fertilizer prices are suddenly going to bear the brunt of that cost, or semiconductors, which we know have been a real supply constrained piece of the economy for the last 2 years, that could be basically a recipe for, overall CPI dropping. Sure, electric costs and gas costs are going to come down for the average consumer, but everything else has become potentially spiraling out of control. And so, we talk a lot about it on these calls, but price controls, historically speaking, have not been something that have really worked out. They cause a lot of unintended consequences, things that you wouldn't expect in terms of waves of costs that spiral out in terms of, if you cap one thing, it's going to cause everything else to get out of whack and can create bubbles. So I think that's something we need to be looking at. We need to be paying attention to fertilizer prices, particularly in the EU. If we're going to be in a situation where suddenly food becomes exorbitantly expensive over there, it probably is going to filter through over here as well, because, we could probably start shipping a lot of grains over there, and that's going to raise prices here because there's only so much grain to go around. That being said, overnight, we saw German power prices plunge as much as 26%. Dutch natural gas fell 11% from exceptionally high levels. And then also on the horizon, we have Gazprom is getting ready to start a 3-day shutdown for maintenance starting tomorrow, which is not going to help. Obviously, Gazprom is the big Russian company supplying natural gas to Europe. Let's see. And that's the final piece really is, First Solar, which is a big solar company. There's an article that came out that they are going to spend $1.2 billion to expand U.S. production. Right now we know that primarily solar panels are manufactured and imported from China. We've seen a number of headlines as it relates, to a lot of the green initiatives that are being put forth by the Biden administration have been extremely helpful for China because that's where it's coming from. And so First Solar, which is a U.S.-based company, is looking to choose a site in the U.S. Southeast. There's 3 states in contention with operations looking to begin in 2025. And it's unclear at this point which states are under consideration. But, in terms of jobs in the state of Georgia, I would imagine we're probably there. We've got a lot of manufacturing know-how here. Additionally, they're going to spend the other $200 million to expand factories in Ohio. And they said that the Inflation Reduction Act has entrusted our industry with the responsibility of enabling America's clean energy future. And we must meet the moment in a manner that is both timely and sustainable. So solar power, there's been mixed reviews in terms of its viability. We've looked a lot at the company Enphase, which makes solar panels recently, in terms of their ability to meet demand and really ramp up solar power as a piece in the U.S. But even this, they're saying they're going to begin building and operations in 2025. So that's, I could be dead by then. That's so long out. So it doesn't fix the problem immediately, but it is progress. And First Solar is one of the bigger movers and shakers in the solar industry in the U.S. And so that's where we're at. So that's really all I've got this morning. It's a pretty light day. So now we're going to turn to the interview phase of the morning call. And feel free to jump in the chat. I've got the chat up here if you want to ask questions for Sagaar. So Sagaar, what do you want to be when you grow up?
I want to be an astronaut.
Yeah, astronaut. Really?
No.
Okay.
No.
But for real, yeah. This is your time to meet the people.
Honestly, I'm not entirely sure. I was looking at a few career paths after college. Kind of. I was looking at investment banking, but I think I've learned a lot through the recruiting process, and I'm not knocking it, but I'm not entirely sure that's it for me. So I'm kind of in in between phase right now, where I'm exploring everything I can, and kind of just trying to take the experience I get from that and trying to leverage it to figure out what I want.
Interesting. So, were you thinking corporate finance? You thinking investment management? What's the In terms of what fields you're looking at, is there anything specifically?
Yeah, I was looking at strategy consulting, as just a like I've been looking at finance since freshman year, kind of pigeonholed there. So kind of just trying to look into other opportunities and see if I, put myself down on a hole too early before I knew exactly what I wanted.
Okay, interesting. First impressions of Narwhal as a consultant, what would you change? Second day, what's the choke point here in your opinion?
Um, I don't know. I mean, I just started.
I just thought I'd throw it out there.
Yeah.
You got to be ready and for these things. First impressions of Narwhal. Period. Who's the weirdest guy in the office in your opinion? You can say me. It won't hurt my feelings.
I don't know. I forgot his name, but he was wearing a PSG t-shirt, and so I tried talking to him about soccer, and Ben kind of set him up for failure. Ben said he was a huge soccer fan, only for him to have the shirt on and not watch soccer.
For those listening at home, that would be Sam Frost, notable, fashionable guy, but not a soccer fan. Uh, nice. We're getting good chat here good chatter here. Also, I want to shout out Jerry. We played your songs before the call, and man, you got to be on time, man. We missed. Yeah, when the new tracks are up, and we tried to play them for the call, but you weren't on in time. Let's see. What would you say? What are you looking to get out of your internship? What do you think that Narwhal can bring to the table for you? From an internship perspective. I mean, obviously we've had, we might have the best roster in terms of former interns. They all make a lot more money than we do. Live in New York, have fancy lives. Is that something you're interested in, being another successful alum or potentially a job offer? I mean, what's the end goal for you?
I don't know, but I know a lot of those successful alum. But been talking to them a lot, and that's kind of how I heard of Narwhal initially. So
Shout out to Akash.
yeah, and I don't know Nicholas.
He's the guy
Sauce now,
for.
too.
Oh yeah, Sauce now.
Yeah,
Legendary intern.
yeah.
Sauce now had the best pitches on stocks of any intern of all time. He would it was like listening to a story. He'd be like, "Do you believe in unicorns? Because this company is a unicorn."
Yeah.
So got a question in the chat. Joe Hines, where do you go to school? Where did you grow up?
I go to Georgia Tech, and I grew up in Alpharetta, Georgia.
What high school did you go to?
Milton.
Boo.
Yeah.
I went to Roswell. Roswell and Milton have a long history of not liking each other, but the old Milton High School was a dump. The new one looks very nice.
I'm from the outside, not as much from the inside.
Yeah. Hobbies.
I play a lot of tennis. I try to play basketball, but I'm a bit vertically challenged, as I've been told a few times.
Fair.
But
that's tough in this office.
Yeah, and then I love to travel. I studied abroad this past summer, so I got a lot out of the way.
Where'd you study abroad?
I was in Metz, France.
Oh yeah.
So I was my home base was there, but I was there for very little time.
Yeah. What was the best part about your study abroad?
I got to watch the Nadal Djokovic quarterfinal at the French Open.
Oh, gnarly.
Or I watched Wimbledon. We camped 20 hours for Wimbledon tickets.
Nice. That's pretty cool. You can say yes, he's not. Oh, so can you smoke Ben at tennis?
Yeah, probably.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had intern matches before. I think Ben has won all of them. Who did he lose to?
He's got one loss.
One loss. Who did he lose to?
I can't remember. It was a long name. The name was long.
Can't remember. Long name, Hick says. High schooler. So yeah, well, we should set up the camera and have Ben play. We'll put it on a live stream. So something to put in the cooker for later. Well, good. I think we're like 8:45. We've done our 15 minutes. Yeah, if anybody has any more questions for the interns, I'm gonna try and get Reagan. He's our other intern. We're playing with the nickname of Shrek for him because his last name is Shirk. So it's just too easy. I was initially gonna go with Ronald. Obviously that's probably too on the nose, but hopefully we can get more interns here on the calls when we have light days. But appreciate everybody listening. Hopefully it's a bigger news day tomorrow. And hopefully we'll have some kind markets today, but we'll see you guys. I'll see you guys next Tuesday, but we'll be here tomorrow morning, 8:30.